Thank you for joining us on episode 11 of our Journey of Voices. It's been a while and we've been waiting, but we're excited to talk to you today about patience, perseverance, and everything else in between. So Sean, before we dive into a little bit too much, can you tell those of us who don't know you who you are?
So my name is Sean Francois. By trade, by career, a healthcare professional, IT professional. But beyond that, also a father, two lovely children, husband, a son, and active in my community as a coach for both soccer and basketball. So those are the things that keep me busy most of the time these days, between family, work, and coaching. Yeah.
And we know you stay busy.
I try.
Okay.
So before we get into everything, get into all that, take us back to your beginnings. You know, where you're from and what it was like growing up.
Yeah. So from Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, born and raised, and it was a good upbringing. You know, my parents did their best to really instill a sense of self-worth, self-confidence, really exposed me to the world around us. Really big on making sure I understood and knew my culture, and in addition to that, making sure that I understood the importance of diversity and being everyone being involved in the community and having a part in the community. And then the importance of education on top of that was also something that has never been far from my mind. But those were the things, I guess, that have turned me, to be the person I am today, and the kind of things my wife and I tried to, instill in our own kids as well.
So did you have any role models growing up? Kind of people you looked up to?
Yeah, so my parents for sure. My dad, my mom, especially my mom. I've always felt that she has been like a steady, just a steady rock in my life, but also someone who has been a role model for me, specifically for the reasons of being an educator. She started off as a teacher in the Digby County area. Then she moved into the Halifax Regional School Board area, then was Halifax County. And then she moved on from teacher to become a vice principal, and then finished her career as a principal. So my time as a child has seen her kind of come through those stages of her career as well, and always striving for something else, always never settling. And so I saw that as she kind of continued through her career, and my father as well. I saw him do different roles and different jobs, and he ended up as the employment equity officer for the Canadian Coast Guard in the Halifax region. So there's different things that I saw him transition from with his in his career too. So it always made me think it's okay to move on from what you were doing to something else. Look at something else that maybe give you more fulfillment in life. Maybe it's something that gives you more of a sense of belonging, and something that wants you to strive to get to the next point in your life. So.
Okay. And looking on your life right now and things that you learned from your childhood, how would you say? Where would you say you are in your journey now?
It's interesting because I think that my journey almost in a lot of ways is just beginning. Is the different things I've accomplished in life. I don't necessarily consider them being extraordinary by any stretch, but I've been able to do some cool things through university, in high school, post university. It's just been kind of the journey to get to where I am now. But through all those experiences, I still think that there's so much more to accomplish in life, and I'm just really just starting to really understand the power of collaborating and networking, and these are all things I kind of did naturally, and thankfully learned a lot of those skills through my parents and other people in the community when I was growing up. But with the way that the world is so much smaller now, the internet has made the world so much smaller, it's a lot easier to collaborate. So I find that it's almost like a whole nother level of where I can get to in life, and the things that the ideas I have and the things I want to do can still continue on from here. I don't think that I've really started my journey. I think it's just really getting going.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah,
Exciting for sure. So one of the questions I was going to ask you actually is how you handle with transitions, how you handle yourself during transitions. You kind of alluded to that earlier, just kind of saying your parents kind of showed you that it was okay to kind of start on a new path, kind of move on, right?
Yeah.
So take us back to a time when you first had to transition, first had to pivot.
Sadly, going into my first year undergrad, when I was 17, my father passed away unexpectedly. And so there's that transition, my dad's passed, and how that affects any young person losing a parent, how you handle that, and then how that shapes you going forward. Then I've been able to, have had some successes with education, got my degree, and that was wonderful. But then you have dreams and aspirations of where you want to go on from there. And I wanted to get into a radio and television arts program. I thought the journalism, multimedia world would be something I would like to get into. And I did apply for a program, and I didn't get it. So this was after I graduated from St. Mary's. So then, how do you transition from that? Mm-hmm. So thankfully, I was able to get into the world of information technology and a little bit of computer programming, computer science, and did a postgraduate program, IT program, where you get the basics. I was fortunate enough to get hired by the company I'm still employed by today, and was able to transition into that space, into the information technology world, and have been in that market, thankfully, knock on wood, since 2001. So we'll see, how that journey continues on. But there's so many different points in my life where I've, had to, adjust, or had to make a complete change from something I really wanted to do and then get into something else. But at the end of the day, there's always passions that you have, interests that you have, things you really enjoy, and how do you still stay connected to those things, yet your responsibilities in life have changed to the point where that can't be it can't be the breadwinner, but at the same point, it's still something you're really interested in. So I've tried to balance that with regards to being involved, in sport. I have a passion for sports like the both of you young men do, and just tried to, stay involved, in a lot of different ways. But
I can feel the excitement radiating off of you when you talk about managing your time and making sure you have time for, the breadwinner, what does, pay the bills, your jobs, whatever, and also making time for your interests. Yeah. And you smile every time, and when you mention that, so especially maybe when you realized when you'd first been rejected by the program that you tried to get into, or even kind of talking about later on in life, how did you find your own strategy to include your interests and manage your time all the while working a job and whatever else may have been going on?
How can I meet people who are in those industries? How can I meet people who think kind of the same way? And kind of now, especially with the internet, I've been thankful to be involved with various sports blogs where I've interacted, been able to write articles, interview athletes, and those are the things on the side that have been able to keep me really excited about the things I've been passionate about. And then, of course, as a father and having kids who are involved in sport, how can you find a way to get them excited about sport and try to give them, passions?
That same kind of.
Yeah, that's right. And their individual passion could be something completely different. And, I actually hope for that, because you don't want everyone to be the same. That makes the world kind of a boring place. You want them to have their own interests and their own things that really, we get them excited. But I think through sport, I've been able to help, create a passion within my kids about different things. My wife and I both passionate about sports, and so it's something that I felt that we both felt was important to drive home It doesn't matter, and I've had this conversation with other people before, especially when it comes to kids, it doesn't matter what their interests are, make sure they're involved in something, make sure they're passionate about something, so that they kind of have that drive to do it for a long time, and they can continue to strive to get better, they can learn from it, failure, successes, learning to work hard, they practice at it to get better. Like, unfortunately you have this situation with a lot of kids now, and it's just kind of the way life is with instant gratification. Just everything is kind of like, microwave this, instant that, and people expect results right away, but that's not how life works. And you don't want those lessons to be taught to someone when they show up at university. You want kids to hopefully have learned a lot of those lessons before or by the time they hit junior high. You know what I mean? So that they've at least gone through some ups and downs and some failure, so that they understand that, you want something, you gotta work for it. You're really passionate about something, well, keep at it, you know what I mean? Look for new ways to get involved, meet other people. A lot of these life skills can be taught at an early age without really forcing it on people. It's just that I've found that we've kind of gotten away from that collaborative kind of thing,
Definitely. And that speaks, and you're kind of hitting that from a lot of different perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
I know definitely the father and the parental kind of perspective and lens on things as well. But you're speaking about discovery. And so switching the lens a little bit, but you, during your process, with your father's passing and then going right into university, and as you talked about, once you finished, you had your eyes set on a specific program, and that was what you planned to do. That's where you were kind of pushing yourself, and coming off of the radio experience that you had, and passion with your music and the sport. What did that look like for you? Because you had to persevere, you had to keep pushing, and even when you didn't know what you were going to do.
Right.
Can you talk to me, or talk to us a little bit about what that looked like and what that felt like?
Yeah, I mean, I guess really what it was like you mentioned about time management. It was like, okay, so, I was heavily involved in college DJing for a period of time, got involved there. I mean, at those times, you kind of really had to pound the pavement. You just had to get out there and meet people and network. And so I was constantly looking for, ways to still stay involved, and so that's what I did when I moved to Ottawa. I just reached out to the people at the radio station there, CHUO at the University of Ottawa, and not only were they looking for people to be engaged on various programming on air, but they actually were looking for someone to help them with their program directing and music directing department. And so I got involved from that perspective. And so it was a great experience. Became the co-music director there for the school year, and learned a lot, engaged with a lot of people, met new people. And so for me, it's always been about, okay, I know I've got schoolwork to do, so I'm a student, or I've got a part-time job, or now I've got a career. But you still have free time. How can you take that free time and find a way to, meld those passions that you have, and find ways to be able to advance that? And with the media side of things, the sports side of things, fast forward to probably 2006, 2007, started getting involved in the blogging side of the world. And at that time, those blogs were just kind of starting to percolate online, and there was people started having a following. And for me at the time, it was more reading them. But as a student, a university student, I was involved writing at university newspapers, doing arts and entertainment articles, covering sports teams. So I had that passion as a writer too. I studied English here at St. Mary's, so I've always had a passion for writing, and an interest in it anyway. More of an interest than a passion. But you're passionate about other things, and you can combine those skills. And so I guess that's kind of what took me to the world of blogging. It was literally just trying to take free time, turn it into, and then find hobbies that will allow you to take those passions to a new level, where you'll be able to meet new people and do new things. So I think that those are the ways that I've been able to take a lot of the maybe disappointment, in not getting into certain programs or being able to do certain things and still find a way to get enjoyment and still live out those interests.
Okay.
And so, even with that, because that's huge, you talked about a lot of the different roles and hats that you put on and the passions that you share. And I want to dig a little bit deeper because you said you don't feel like you do anything extraordinary or extraordinary.
Yeah, I don't think so.
But digging into that, I mean, you coach 2 sports, you have a family, you have your 9 to 5, and then you have your other passions that that have given you so many opportunities that are very unique. Can you tell us a little bit more those opportunities, and then we'll dig a little bit further.
Sure. So just by having started the blog with a couple of friends, Romy and Yui, who have a lot of similar interests, specifically with a love of basketball and the NBA. We just decided, we've got this forum now, we've got this outlet, we're writing, we're collaborating with other bloggers, other like-minded people. How can we, take it to the next level? We're always looking for little ways to, move the bar. That's right. Raise the bar a little bit. And so we decided when different NBA athletes would, come to the area for various summer events, usually it was during the off season, we would just basically reach directly out to the PR firms that were organizing the events, and we'd see the press release and it would say contact so-and-so, and so we just started building those connections and putting in requests for interviews, and lo and behold, they got granted, and we started kind of networking, getting opportunities to interview athletes when they came to town. And that was an exciting opportunity because it felt like we were able to take something that we had a real excitement about and really turn it into something tangible. And it was exciting to see the grassroots kind of come from that, and where we were able to take our mindset from something that we were like just a collaborative effort between friends about something that we were both, 3 of us were passionate about, and then turn it into something where we're actually interviewing professional athletes. And it turned into being able to cover Raptors training camp for a full week. Gone to NBA All-Star game and NBA All-Star weekend a couple times, and so all those, a couple. But it all came from just really being passionate about something, networking, showing that showing professionalism, but enthusiasm as well. And I think really just staying true to yourself and not trying to overstate what you are, who you are. A blog is a blog, right? It's not like we're out there representing a major television network or brand or anything along those lines, but I think how you carry yourself, your passion, and if people can see that you're taking it seriously, different opportunities kind of open up from there. And prior to doing these interviews with various athletes, specifically NBA players, I had the opportunity to be a part of a television program on what used to be the Score television network, and it was a search for Canada's next sportscaster called Gillette Drafted. It was the season 2 of that program, and that was an invaluable experience for me because I auditioned and then I got selected to be a part of the program. But these were all, it was like almost like a whirlwind. I felt like a whirlwind boot camp for sports journalism, because having not had got into the radio and television arts program I wanted to get into, several years before, this was an opportunity to try and gain a lot of those skills and see how I could do in an environment like that. So that experience gave me a little bit more confidence and that hunger, that fire to continue on. And it just so happened, me and my 2 friends that I mentioned, we had the blog set up already, and we just kind of carried on from there. And that's how, I guess, just a passion and a hobby, and turned into something a little bit bigger than that.
Turn it into something extraordinary.
No, absolutely. So I have a question.
Thank you.
What would you say of those highlights, if you have one, would be your favorite interview?
I guess one of my favorite interviews is the one that we did with Muggsy Bogues. Only because he was, a guy I looked up to as a kid, just like the smallest NBA player at the time, doing like unimaginable things on the court, and to know his story, and then get a chance years later to be able to like talk to him a bit about his journey was quite memorable. Recently, the one that still sits with me was being able to at NBA All-Star Weekend in Toronto, 2016, and speak with Coach Greg Popovich of the San Antonio Spurs and get a couple questions in with him in a full media scrum. And the man liked my question, first of all, and then took the time to answer it in depth. That was, I wouldn't consider it an interview because it really was like a media scrum question, but just that interaction was one that I don't think I'll ever forget that. And of course it's forever on video as well.
Yeah.
So I definitely won't forget that.
There you go.
Definitely won't forget that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, well, what would you say, because obviously you're very passionate about what you do on the side,
Yeah.
but you definitely learn from that path and those things as well, and maybe you try to instill some of the things you learn maybe in your kids or how you go about your life maybe in other realms.
Yeah.
So what did you learn from that path that you try to bring to other areas of your life?
Yeah, I guess the biggest thing I would say about what I've learned is that you can't worry too much about rejection or failure. If it's something that you really want to do, try it again. Maybe if it's something you really want to figure out why you didn't get it the first time, reset, figure out what it's going to take to do it the next time. Or if that's not a viable path, how is another way you can get to that, attain that goal without maybe going that direction. So we talked about not getting into the radio, television arts program, but then eventually ended up doing the blog and just kept grinding, and it presented opportunities. Now that's not a career, but it's given me professional opportunities that if someone were in a similar situation could continue to grind, and then you are building a bit of a professional resume and a bit of a portfolio that you have to go into another opportunity with. So I guess ultimately never look at a closed door as that's over with for me. There's always another way to get there if you really want to do it. Never look at a roadblock as a permanent divide between where you are and where you want to go. There's always other paths. There's probably a bridge over here. There's a tunnel over here.
Yeah.
There's always another way to get there. It's just a matter of how you do it. Maybe it's not instant. Maybe you do something else, for a career, but then you just keep pushing on, keep doing something else on the side. I think that, especially on the music side, there's people, especially now, there's the industry, a lot of industries really, same with sports and journalism, they're so saturated, there's not as many ways to kind of break in, but if you keep at it, eventually something will happen. And if you're willing to create your own path, create your own, your own avenue, there's definitely ways to push on.
Don't even know where to start to tie that, but honestly, I think that's extremely powerful because you're talking about perseverance, you're talking about being patient, because if you're building your own thing, your own path, whatever it is, whatever your passion is, like you said, it's not going to be overnight. It might not be in a month, it might not be in a year.
That's right.
You have to kind of put your nose to the pavement, to the grindstone, and hustle.
Yeah.
And you did that a lot throughout your journey. I think, bringing it home a little bit, what's your next step?
Wow. For me, I think it's, for now, continue what I'm doing with regards to coaching, stay involved with the kids. I think that helping to empower kids through confidence, through their self-worth, through providing them with tools that will make them successful, and being there as a mentor to them is important. Beyond that, I really don't know. I definitely feel like I'm just getting started, in life in a lot of ways. Just almost I've personally found that anyone you meet, if you present yourself the right way, whenever you have a question, people will make time for you. I graduated, I did my schoolwork, but I think I could have done it better. You know what I mean? Like, there's always, you never want to look back and regret anything, and I certainly wouldn't. I certainly don't regret anything that's happened in my life, but there's always things you look back, I could have changed this, I could have done this. And I think that young students, if they can really focus on, their grades, but also try to focus on a few things in life as far as like a future goals, careers that you may want to get involved in, and ensure that the education that you're getting, whether formally or informally through networking, shadowing, whatever the case may be, try and marry those two as early on as possible, so you're kind of getting some real world, real education in the subjects that are going to tie into a career path that you want to go. But then if there's something that's maybe it's a little bit more off the beaten path and there's not necessarily a formalized program, network with some people who are in that industry and ask questions. Like I said, just reach out, ask, then gives yourself some more knowledge as to the path they took to get to where they are, and maybe you follow something similar, or then you find out, I don't have to go the way I thought to be able to get there. There's always valuable things you get from asking questions.
And I know you talked about a lot of your passions, a lot of your beliefs, but what would be one guiding belief that gets you through the day?
I think you have to have a belief in yourself. You have to surround yourself with people who also support and believe in you. I think that's really important, because if you don't believe in yourself, who's going to believe in you? It's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, if you don't believe in yourself, or if you're kind of showing that you don't have the that drive or that ambition, it's probably going to show, and people are going to see that in you, and likely aren't going to think that you're as serious about something as you could be. And it's not like people's families don't believe in them and don't think they can achieve things, but when you show that initiative, when you exude that confidence, people are even that much more inclined to get behind something that you're passionate about, because they see you have the drive. And there's nothing bigger than someone who has a belief in what they want to do and where they want to go. That can take you so much further than almost anything else. I don't even know how to describe it, because if you believe in yourself, then you're willing to do almost anything it takes to get to where you want to go. And when people see that drive, people are going to hop on board. It's contagious, right? So I think belief in yourself, and surrounding yourself with people who will support you and believe in you as well. That's the key in a lot of ways, and that's for anybody. I'm Sean Francois, and this is my voice.